The machine just put the components you want on the right position. He's doing.
So it's a robot that's placing each component on top of the solder paste. On
the board. kind of machine gun. You will see that.
Today I'm bringing you something a bit different. I'm digging deep into my archives. This video actually predates the Strange Parts channel by about a year. And it's the zygote of the idea that I had for the factory tour videos I've been doing. I had this notion that TV shows like How It's Made really weren't doing factories justice. They were missing out on the most important part, which is the people and the stories that go into making things. And so I had this giant beard, no clue how to make videos. I borrowed a friend's camera. I talked another friend into coming and shooting it with me. And we found a factory boss who makes things for several friends of mine in Shenzhen who was willing to show us around.
So first, when the customers are giving us like components, PCBA, first we're getting into the warehouse to checking, like a double check about for the customer. Okay, how many pieces the components of the customer provide us.
To make sure you've received the right amount.
Yeah, right. And
it matches what they
and keep feedbacking to our customer. Okay, maybe something lost or something, and then first we check in and we have the PCB, right? And this is the shell. Maybe you feel a little bit curious about this. This one is for the stencil. Okay, the stencil. Every PCB board you need the stencil to get the solder paste on. Solder paste like on the PCB. Okay, there's a pad on it, for the components connecting to the circuit, right?
Right. Where they're going to be soldered down to the board.
Yeah. And then there's a stencil. It's kind of a hole for this pad. When you have the solder paste on, the holes will just have the solder paste on the pad.
Yeah.
And when you go like a soldering, just connecting the components to the circuit.
Got it.
You can see the hole here. Actually, this is all of this for the pads of the PCB board.
Got it.
And this is when you have the boards in here and solder paste here.
And you
you will see only the pads on the solder paste.
So you don't get solder paste everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
And then this is for a panelized board? So it would be for 3 boards next to each other?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the customer. For example, sometimes the PCBA does have 2 sides, right? One side and second side.
So they put both sides on the same
maybe
stencil.
so just save your cost. Of course you can.
So then you only have to make one of these.
Yeah, of course you can have one, but
so is this both sides or this is probably panelized?
Yeah, panelized. This one is for panelized. Maybe this board is very small one, maybe just this big, and here's like a 50 panelized one. One board with a 50 pieces here.
Oh, and then 50 pieces here, and then 50 pieces here.
Yeah, something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the stencil. It's very important procedures for us to make a right stencil because directly connecting to the high performance of the soldering.
What can go wrong if the stencil is wrong?
First about the size of the hole, right?
Yep.
Sometimes the pad, right? It is true the pad is this big, but when we're doing a production going through the reflow oven, and you will see maybe the pad is not. Maybe you need to get the pad a little bit closer because maybe just too bad getting too close to each other. The solder paste jump across.
Create a short.
Yeah, create a short. So maybe the pad is square, but maybe in the end you will make it a little bit thinner, longer
on the stencil.
Yeah, on the stencil, and just a style modification to let the solder paste go in the right place. Here is for the SMD, the line here. So here's the stencil we talk about. Okay, here's the stencil, and use the machine to.
So he's loading a board in there right now.
Yeah, you can see this one that we got the board. Okay, we got the board is totally empty, right?
Right.
And
so this came from the PCB factory.
Yeah,
They shipped it to you.
Yeah, shipped to us to getting we have the components on it.
Got it.
Yeah, this is what we're doing, and so he is right now he's adjusting
the alignment.
Yeah, alignments about to make it a stencil, totally fit on the pads.
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
This solder pads must first prevent the outer things to getting into the circuit, right? And you can see the dip line here. You can see dip line.
Yep.
This is the circuit.
Right, that's the actual traces that
connect
each pad.
Actually the circuits.
And then the solder mask covers those up so that no solder binds to them, right?
Yeah, no solders on, and you can have, actually this is the traces in, and have the cover like a protection for the chassis.
It's like a slippery cover that doesn't let anything bind to them.
Yeah. And you can see the pads here, like this is the pad, like the gate to the chassis, right? And also like something, for example, this part is the LED. You know about the LED, there's a direction, right?
Yeah.
That's why they do the seal print here, like angle.
To make sure you know which way
which way you are going.
So those are silk screened on here, right?
Okay.
Is that right? They may put those on with a silk screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the seal screen.
Yeah.
Yes,
and that gives you all the words and lettering.
Yeah.
And then this is what a panelized board looks like, right?
Yeah.
These are each different units.
Yep.
And then you'll break these apart later.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, you are right. When, for example, like when we're doing the mass production, like for SMD, like if it is okay, just like make it panelized. If you like a higher like the efficiency, you know, like
because that makes the whole line run faster.
Run faster. And by the way, it's like run faster means you can get cheaper price. You know that, like all about the efficiency. Yeah. So when you making the panelized reasonable, it means like you can get it like a stable, better quality, and also the like a better price for it.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, when you're doing the boards, okay, there was two kind of boards of this one. You see like this panelized so much, right?
Yeah.
The 8 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So one
80
board,
boards
80 boards on here. And you will see there was two different, right?
Yeah.
One is with the edge. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the supporting edge. And this one don't have.
No edge.
No edge. So here's the things. It's better for you to have the edge this, because for the convening one, for this one, for the convening belt,
sit inside the rails.
Yeah, just sit inside the rail. But sometimes like sometimes, for example, like this one, you know there's nothing. We just like for example, like this one, we don't need to. We use the size
because there's no components.
Yeah, no
components. It's just holes.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, like I'm suggesting to just
have that regardless.
Yeah, maybe just hire a little cost for that, because you know about like how the PCB charging the price for the.
They charge by the area.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so
exactly.
So it adds a little bit of cost to have that rail.
Yeah, maybe a little bit,
but it makes the manufacturing easier.
Yeah, make the manufacturing easier. So I suggest you just have the edge here, and also like maybe panelize like just reasonable, not too big, not too small.
Right.
Yeah, make it too.
No circuit boards like this.
Yeah. This one is before the stanchion, and this one you have the stanchion, okay, here.
And so he put, this machine put solder paste on every pad.
Yeah.
Which will then allow you to solder the components to the board. So there's paste on top here? Is that
paste on, kind of rusty, you know, like.
Yeah, like a squeegee.
Yeah. Like a, for example, press
and it down.
Yeah. 怎么样?
And then it wipes the solder paste across the stencil.
Yeah, you can see it.
And then it goes down through the holes of the stencil onto the board.
Yeah. And then like this one, like finally we have like something like this. Okay, something like that. Have the pads, to have the solder paste on the solder on the pad. You can see when we put the stuff here. Okay, and then.
So then it goes down these conveyor belts.
Yeah, this one like how the SMD machines are working, okay? Have the boards in, we have already set up the program in. So the machine just put the components you want on the right position. Here's doing.
So it's a robot that's placing each component on top of the solder paste. On
kind of machine gun. You will see that. Have the things on the board. Yeah.
So this is putting LEDs on this board.
Yeah, putting an LED. This board is for some flashing, like a for the
like a light or something.
Yeah, like a light or something.
Okay.
We will go back to see how it's going on the back side. Okay, first you can see this one. We call it like a feeder.
Okay.
You can see?
Yeah, okay. So these are reels.
Yep.
And these hold all of the reels have little pockets for all the components in them?
Yeah. There's you can see, there's a small pockets for all the components, like a resistor, capacitor, something like that. Okay? This is how reels, like the components in the reel. and then like we put it on the feeder. The feeder is just put the things feed on the board. You know, that's why we like have the things that feed on the board.
So they feed into the pick and place machine.
Yeah, and the pick and place machine, there was a nozzle. Okay, when there was a feeder here, because we cannot see very close in the machine, but
because there's so much stuff.
But something like that, like a wheel here, there was a pocket. The nozzle come, get it, and put it into the board.
And so how does it? Whoa!
Yeah.
So he loads all the reels here.
Yeah.
And then that sends it into the machine.
Yeah, and the machine just directly, okay, choose which one to put which position.
Okay.
This is how we see it. Like
so this is way fancier than some of the pick and places I've seen.
Yeah.
This is so that you can be loading reels and be placing at the same time. Is that why this slides out?
Yeah, yeah. Like you know, like there is a 2 port here. So when we're using 1 port, we can do
the machine can be using one, and you're loading
the
other.
other. So it just
so that it can run the entire time.
Yeah, entire time.
Yeah,
exactly. Now we are adjusting the pick and place machine. First time
okay.
when we have the program in, right? But sometimes like your setup is right, but like go in the machine will have the tolerance, right? And then you need to do it something like that. Okay, checking the camera. The camera is here, like here. There's a camera here. When you have the boards like components over there, like maybe a little slide, he will put the boards to the camera. You know, like the machine, how it works. It's first like the camera just position, like have the boards position, have everything's here. Okay, he check about he will see every components. Okay, and then we use this computer to directly to see how it put on, maybe a little bit move away or something. We just like change, like modify a little bit about
so
the
does the camera can find the pad on the board?
Yeah.
Is that it's to adjust the machine in real time?
Yeah, you can see he checking. Okay, he checking watch this one to like a setup.
So it's looking for these little spots.
Fiducial. We call it like a fiducial.
Right.
Yeah,
a fiducial.
Yeah, a fiducial to build up the X, Y.
To see where the board is.
Yeah, to see where the board is.
That placed the whole board while we were just talking now.
Yeah.
That's so fast.
Yeah, and you can see okay, he see, okay.
And so it's slightly off.
Yeah, slightly off.
Adjusting
to make the machine going.
It's slightly turned.
Yeah, slightly turns, and we were checking doing this one is pass, and we're doing checking every board, each one, and then the rest.
Adjust it.
Yeah, the rest of them should be fine. Keep
once
running.
you get the first few boards working.
Yeah, a few. That's why we need to doing the setup.
How many panels are you making?
Yeah, this whole box, you see, there's several thousand.
How long will that take you to make?
I can give you
box, for instance. How long will that take this machine?
Let me say in this way, okay? There's a speed for this one, okay?
Yeah.
There is speed. We can calculate, for example, how many components you have. Okay, the speed, for example, for an hour, we can get 30,000.
30,000 components.
Yeah,
per hour.
30,000 components.
Wow.
So you can see how many boards we can. It depends on how complicated.
So will you be done with that box today?
This
or
one.
Will you be still working on that tomorrow?
I mean, this one we can done today. I mean,
today
no problems.
Yeah,
totally no problem. After we have this one, okay, have the components on, okay.
Yeah. So these are just sitting on here on the solder paste. They're not locked down yet.
Yeah, you can see there is connections on the side of the components. The connection to the circuit board, and the solder paste working working, connecting
Got
the
it.
thing.
So it's just sort of being held down by the solder paste, by the wet solder paste.
Yeah, wet solder paste, and you're right, the wet solder paste. So right now we will see how is the next procedure for this one. And so you can see this board is going to in the oven. Okay, we are going to cook the pizza. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this one you can see. Okay, you can see there is a wet soldering. All right. Okay.
So these are similar to the other boards. They've been placed, but it's still wet solder.
Wet solder just come from the machine, and you can see here we have the. Okay, first you will wonder why we have the paper on, right?
Yeah. Why do you have paper?
You know, like the reflow oven, the wind just come from up to down, right? And up to down, sometimes you have the double sides.
So you have components on both sides.
Yeah, so if you finish one side and doing the other side, what happened is going on the bottom side.
To all those components that were attached.
They will just go down.
They will
right?
fall down.
Yeah, they will fall down. But like I said, the heating is from up to down. We have the paper under. First, prevent the wind just go down, right?
And blowing off all of the parts
Yeah, and
underneath.
so I mean have the paper on, and just like the temperature is not high enough on the bottom, so the soldering just not melting again, just make the components down. Just like soldering the upside and the bottom side.
So it's like an insulator.
Yeah, kind of.
To keep the bottom cool.
Yeah, keep the bottom cool. You can see there is a components on the bottom. This part is already soldered.
And we don't want those to come off.
Yeah. You can see there's like 8 temperatures here.
Yep.
Like there is separate like 8 temperature. Okay. Like there was like first like melting, make the solder paste melting.
Yep.
And then make it cool. Just like have a very standard like a.
But you wanted to do it steadily.
Yeah.
Not really suddenly.
Yeah, not suddenly. Just like very.
So you want to heat it up slowly and then cool it slowly.
Yeah, exactly. Make it like make the soldering performance better.
Got it.
That's why we have.
Each of these temperatures is a different place in the oven down the line.
Yeah, you
on
can.
the conveyor belt.
Yeah, actually, you will see like this is the best. How to say? This is the best procedure for the solder paste melting and dry.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you know what the right curve is
Yeah.
for the temperature.
Yeah,
to go in for the solder and for the.
Yeah, we set up like also you see the speed is slow. Just make it soldering. Solder best.
And so does it take time to develop the right temperature for your oven and for the boards? Do you change this per board?
We don't change a lot because the temperature is the same. Temperature is the same, so we just use the same. I mean, there was a suggestion for the the factory making this. They will suggest you what kind of temperature for you to do it, right?
Right.
And also we have to for example, some customer their board is thicker, right? Thicker, it means like it takes more time for you to heat the board up or something. So sometimes you just need to do some modification about this one.
What happens when the temperature is incorrect?
For example, the temperature is not high enough. You will, in the end, you will see the solder paste is not soldering well. Just like a little bit dry, like a sand or something like that. You will tell it. You see it.
So
you
it
will
doesn't fully melt.
Yeah, fully melt. The right way you see is quite brightening, like shining one, not like a sand, or you will see like a mud or something. You will kind of
so you can see from the color and how shiny it is.
If like temperature is too high, just maybe do some damage to the board, the PCB.
So
the oil paint, to cook the board, you will see the board is a little bit bubbling, right? Bubbling, bubbling, or the oil just getting another color. Not good for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they like scorches the boards.
Yeah. So it's very important for you to control the right temperatures for the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I noticed you have all of this like foil here. What is this for?
Like in SMD workshop, we need like a standard temperature, right?
Yeah.
That one is big oven. You know that?
Yeah.
We have to prevent the heat from getting in fact here. Like if we have the air.
So you don't want to heat the whole building.
Yeah, and by the way, it's like it also saves the energy, right? I mean, this one
doesn't cost so much to heat the oven.
Yeah, I mean, like here, heat just responsible for the heating, and here the air conditioner doing for cooling for the SMD machine.
Got it.
After the things going here.
So this is the other end of the oven. This is where things are coming out.
You will see the solder. Wow, right?
Okay, yeah.
Totally different from the.
So the boards are now coming out hot from the oven.
Yeah.
And the solder's been all melted and then
melted.
solidified.
all the legs, all the melting on the board. You can see.
Okay.
He first like kind of a spot, like a checking, like for generally, because like this time his main job is to getting the wand here, like getting the wand, collecting the boards here. But like here, we still like a very important procedure for us, like this part inspection machine, because like for example, like there is when you go through the reflow oven, there is something wrong with the, for example, like tomb standing, right? The components. Tomb standing is meaning the components just like it should be two legs directly connecting the board, but one is not soldering, not bad, not very good, and just getting up one side.
So it stands up like a tombstone.
Tombstone.
In a graveyard.
We call it like a tomb standing, like because like the flow just like make it up. That's here. and also it's kind of fixed soldering. You see, it's I mean, like you see a fixed soldering, it's soldering on the right position, but actually they just cannot.
But it never connected.
Yeah, they're not connecting with it themselves.
Okay.
So
and so this has a camera in it.
yeah, there's a camera, it's a high resolution camera. To getting the photo, you have the gold sample, right? To make it like a sender into the computer. The computer just like each board will take the photos to like compare each part. With the gold
so you have
sample.
a sample that you visually inspected that you know works.
Yeah.
And then you fed that into the machine and you took pictures of everything.
Yeah.
And then each new board, you take pictures of it and compare it with the pictures you took from the big board.
Yeah, the computer is just doing the same things, and then okay, there was something wrong with this part or something wrong with because you cannot.
Because it doesn't look the same.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, so you cannot just like total 100% pass. There was something wrong. That's why we need to check it. Okay.
And so I noticed this has very strange colors on it. Is it doing heat sensor, or is it just using a special light?
Yeah, special light. Maybe the function is like calculating the angle of the reflection back the light or something to check it.
To see how shiny the solder is.
Yeah, for example, this one it should be okay, right? I mean, okay, this color should be okay to about that. And if like a fixed soldering or something else, you will see the color totally different.
How does the machine work inside? I can see the light is like blue and green and maybe orange in there.
Yeah.
And they're shining at different angles?
Yeah, just directly for, for the calculating, okay, the fixed soldering, if calculating, if reflect like a different color, okay? So he used different color to refresh and getting the calculating about the, okay, whether this is good, whether this is not. So then he's going to checking the computer, just kind of doing his job. Yeah.
And so she's manually checking these too.
Yeah, because you build up a standard, right? The computer just follow up the standard, but something is you cannot just with a really really exact standard, right?
Right.
So that's why you need
you have a human.
To also to check out, make sure okay, this one is okay, but the computer said it's not, but we can say, okay, this one is good. You control the tolerance or something.
Got it.
And then okay, there was something wrong with the board. Okay, we have a repair here to doing some fix the board.
Fix anything that might be wrong.
Yeah. For example, okay, there was a fixed soldering, just adding the soldering on it. He's doing for example, a solder paste is not enough, right? He's just adding some
a little bit of
soldering to make it a connected
That is very detailed.
Yeah, and this is a kind of one procedures here for the SMD part. SMD, only SMD. There
only SMD, so only the surface mount.
Yeah, okay, here's there was a hand soldering here. Because there was some small quantity, maybe 200 pieces, 100 pieces. You cannot.
Like a prototype.
Yeah, kind of prototype, but you cannot every time using a big machine to
because it takes so long to set it up.
Yeah, here's for the small pieces, a small one, and we also the hand soldering. This part is for the hand soldering.
Right.
And
so they're doing small runs by hand.
Yeah. So small runs because some screw hole stuff, a screw hole, you cannot using the machine or something like that. I mean, you
have to do it by hand.
Yeah, you have to do it by hand. Here, that one is for the small, and here's for the big one. A big one for the soldering, hand soldering part. Okay, here you can see every board's line up for the screw hole, and you will see a base soldering machine over there, doing the base soldering. The boards, here, no, he's just in the middle. Step. Okay, you can see there's no soldering here. Okay, he just put the lines.
So they're just putting the cables.
Yeah, because right now this for the big round, so we need every person have a responsible for different step.
Yeah.
Maybe this guy just how to say just putting the plug in, just keep doing the same thing, not doing the
so
other
she
thing.
just puts the wires in.
Yeah,
and then
you
where
can
does
see.
It go next? It goes here.
Yeah, you can see the people here. Okay, he's doing the soldering.
That is about 100 times faster than I solder. And so these guys are placing.
Yeah, placing the gun
components,
and placing the
then
gun
he
is
solders
soldering in the end. Yeah, and one just okay. Here the soldering, and somebody just cut the legs. Okay, cut the legs.
I seem to have lost the video file with the second half of this factory tour. I don't know how. I have the other 3 video files that were shot that same day. I don't know, perhaps it's on a hard drive that's in storage in China. Either way, I don't have access to it right now. But from what I remember, in this room, they were making hoverboard controller circuit boards. And this was back in the heyday of hoverboards. And so they were making these all day long, every day. Well, I hope you enjoyed that blast from the past. If I ever find that other video file, perhaps I'll release part 2 here sometime in the future. But for now, I wanted to thank Mike for taking all of the time to show us around and all of his great wisdom and advice. Particularly given at the time I had 0 YouTube following, there wasn't really any reason for him to spend as much time as he did with us, other than he's a really nice, generous guy. If you'd like to find out more about him and his company, I've left a link down in the description below. I'd also like to thank Gordon McCambridge for coming and filming with me. I'm Scotty from Strange Parts. Stay tuned, I've got more videos coming up, including some new content. I've got parts on the way from China, and I've been filming some factory operations and other cool things here on the Native American reservation where I'm staying. It's some pretty interesting stuff, so stay tuned. I'll see you again soon.